And now we're going to talk about a really sensitive topic, which is going to perhaps anger many people, which means it's very exciting. And this is the truth that I've found, that different races have bonuses to different chakras. Let's explain what I mean. So we've talked about how each energy center in your body is kind of like a muscle, where if you use it a lot, it gets stronger, but if you don't use it, it's kind of dormant or closed. Well, just like an individual can practice these energy centers and using them in their life, so can entire societies. And as you'll see shortly, different societies from different racial and ethnic backgrounds have chosen to strengthen different chakras. And this is fascinating once you see it. Let's start with one example. Which is the most grounded and athletic race? African Americans, right? Africans. And this race, why is it so grounded? Why is it that so many successful professional athletes, where strength and speed are factors, come from an African descent? Well, I'm going to suggest to you that it's because throughout thousands of years of evolution, the societies valued and strengthened this tribal strength. And that hunting on the open savanna in the prairie of Africa, where there was not a lot of agriculture, but you hunted for your meat, incentivized the development of strength and speed. And so the root chakra energy of the African race is stronger than the other races naturally. Not to say there aren't some people who are from the African descent who don't have that strength, and not to say there aren't some people who aren't white or Asian who do have that strength, but I'm just saying that there are tendencies that you will notice that certain chakras are stronger in certain race lineages. Okay, next, let's talk about white people. What do white people generally have a strength and a bonus to regards to their chakra system? Well, I'll tell you, it's the third chakra. The chakra of confidence, power, willpower, mental willpower, getting through challenges. And why is this? Why is it that white business people are predominantly, white male business people run most of the institutions of the world? I don't like it. I'm not saying it should be this way. I'm just saying it is this way right now. And this is partially because through centuries and millennia of evolution on the European continent, there was a lot of conflict. If you look at European history, the Europeans fought more wars with each other than just about any other continent or nation-state group on Earth. Europeans were constantly at war, and they lived in a part of the world where resources were often scarce. Food did not grow easily, right? In Europe, in Northern Europe, what grows? Not much. Potatoes, onions, not too much. You don't just plant something in the earth like Hawaii and it springs out. And so because of scarce natural resources and a need to compete for those resources, Europeans prioritized conflict early on, and they were constantly developing new methods of battle and new technologies. These are the people who invented much of modern warfare as we know it today. And so this constant competition, the strengthening of the ego, this us versus them warfare, came about through thousands of years of European development. And of course, the European nations went on to conquer most of the world in the 17th through 20th centuries. So naturally, white people tend to have stronger third chakras and are more willpower oriented, right? Let's talk about a few other of my theories. Another one let's look at is the Native American bloodline, which of course is now fused into the Latino population, which is of course part European and part Native American. So Mexican culture, much of the South American culture. And what do we know about these cultures? Well, these were cultures that were very connected to the earth. They had a culture of connection to nature. And as a result, they were very grounded. They were very open-hearted. They saw and felt the interconnectedness of all things. If you read Native American mythology, and if you study the work of the medicine people and the shamans, they spoke of our link to the earth and of this bond to all things. And what is that? That's the heart. That's the beating of the heart chakra, you know? And so they developed that heart, which is present to this day among the Latino and Native populations, this heart. And if you ever notice, you go into any Mexican restaurant and you notice the music that they love to listen to in many cases, it's that happy, dun 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 dun, yo quería que estaba, right? This is that happy kind of music that feels good, or it's love songs about the heart. What is the most common phrase that you see these people using? It's corazón, right? And amor, te amo, it's this deep love, right? That's coming across in the culture and the music of Latin America, and this passion. So the heart chakra was actually something that they developed as a whole society and valued, which comes back to their ancient roots. So you can see how it all kind of starts to make sense once you put the puzzle pieces together. Let's talk about Asian society, and you already know where I'm going with this. Asian society, for thousands of years, the way to be successful in ancient China, or many of the Asian societies, was you went through an imperial examination system. And if you wanted to be a successful person, you had to be super smart and study your ass off. And so you would study as much as you possibly could. And this is how you became successful. Not being the greatest warrior, not starting your own business. It was about learning how to learn well. And those who were smart got the highest positions. So the whole society valued intelligence. And this happened over thousands of years. Another thing that happened in Asian society is the cultivation of rice. Rice production is a complex crop. And it's only efficiently done when you have scale, which means lots of people have to work together to efficiently produce huge quantities of rice. So it incentivized collectivism. It was against the interest of the group for everyone to work against each other in individual little pockets. They all had to work together. This is the whole foundations of this communal collective identity. You'll notice that Asian society has a very strong collective identity. And being different and standing out is like a taboo thing. Partially because survival dictated they had to work together. They could not have conflict in order to produce the levels of rice when they started in the rice agricultural production thousands of years ago. And if you ever go to China and see these rice fields and these rice operations, it's amazing. So they had to work together. They had low conflict, which means less root chakra, more mind, more mental cultivation. And that's what you see today. The Asian lineage having those bonuses built into it. Look at the Indian population. Here is a spiritual culture that from its earliest times valued spirituality because the people who were revered were not just those who had money or jewels or the kings even. They were the magi, the priest class, the monks. There is such a strong spiritual tradition in India that the whole culture has accepted the reality of these top two chakras, the third eye and the crown. And if you go to India, it's a place of extreme wealth and poverty, and there's a lot of problems with India. But spiritually, the Indian people are very whole and happy because they're connected to their divine guidance. And they see everything as, part of this divine tapestry, and that's from thousands of years of their culture. So what I want you to consider, and I'm not saying, this is very controversial, and I know that you may take this the wrong way and think that I'm a racist or whatever. But what I'm actually suggesting is that through evolution and through our cultural development, certain races have developed stronger chakras in their culture, and those born into those cultures automatically gain access to those abilities. The great thing about now is that because we are a global society, we are all able to learn from each other. And you see everywhere these new builds of human beings coming into being. I see countless young Asian girls who are into hip-hop and expressing themselves physically and shaking their booty and having fun, because that's something that probably they've been forced into studying in this path of the mind, and so this is like a liberation for them. I'm seeing so many white people who have always been taught competition and whose parents have put all this pressure on them to achieve, to then learn to open their hearts. And they all go on to become hippies and what we define as the free spirits, and these people who are more like open-hearted and loving. Right? And we see, so many different examples of how these new archetypes are being built in human society through mastery of these 7 chakras. And what I hope this course has given you is not just the tools to heal and activate and strengthen your own energy body, but to recognize how every one of us has an energy body and how society has its own viewpoints and its own ways of cultivating them. And that as we evolve and as we grow as a human species, we get to create beautiful new combinations of these human abilities as we go forward.